Data, you will be catered to, fawned over, cared for as you never have been before. Your every wish will be fulfilled. I wish to leave. Almost every wish.
Hello everyone, this is Editing Maggie, just jumping in here before we begin. I have to give a content warning for this episode for a brief mention of a guest actor's suicide. But besides that, hope you enjoy the episode. Hello everyone, welcome back to Fully Functional, a TNG podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory.
Yo.
Jeff and I are huge Star Trek nerds, Dory's a Star Trek novice, and we are taking her on her first journey through Star Trek The Next Generation. Today we'll be discussing the Season 3 episode, The Most Toys. Original air date May 5th, 1990. And as always, we'll take it to Dory for the recap.
Okay. So I'm fully just going to read this beginning part that was like Picard's opening bit because there's no way I'm just going to read it. I can't.
Okay, the technical aspect of what was going on is actually not important.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be.
Yeah, okay. Oh, you know what? Maybe I can't. Okay, now that I've watched the episode, when I first watched this, I was like, I truly don't understand what the fuck's happening. But now that I guess I'm done and I'm just looking at it right now, I can explain it. Mm-hmm. Basically, there's a planet where like their water system's been contaminated, and the only thing to like fix it is this like high trinium shit, and they get it from this guy Kivas Fajo or whatever. Fajo. Whatever. That's the only time I'm saying his last name. I'm calling him Kivas for the rest of the thing. And it's like super like unstable material. So like Data has been going back and forth. He's done 2 trips already to like move the Hytranium, I think. Hytranium. Whatever, move that pure shit.
Yeah.
From like Kiva's ship to the Enterprise. So then like he's getting ready to do his 3rd trip back, and he's like he's like letting them know, okay, I'm like going, I'm like prepare the shuttle, whatever, blah blah blah. Also, by the way, they note at warp 6 they will get to the planet in just over 16 hours because I have to note time in this. It's the law. So then this like person comes over and hands him like a finger scanner to be like, acknowledge the last load, and it like electrocutes him.
Mm-hmm. It like stuns him basically.
Yeah, and he's just like out, and I'm just like, this bitch is stone cold. What the fuck? And so then we're back on the bridge, and they pull up on the screen to watch the shuttle leave Kivas' ship, and then it fucking explodes in front of everybody. And immediately everybody just is like, oh my god, Data's fucking dead. And it was actually kind of wild to watch like everybody's like kind of little / non-reaction. I guess everybody was just so stunned.
Yeah.
And I guess also they're working, but like everybody was just like, wait, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. But also just have to like keep going, I guess. And then only Worf goes, Data.
Yeah.
It's like, Worf. Oh my god, Worf. Oh, so then they talk to Kivas and on the screen, and he's like, yeah, this is because like some of it blew up on the ship, and I don't know, it's not important. Mm-hmm. Whatever. So okay, then they mention that where can we get more of this like pure shit, and it's like really far because it's also like not super available because it's really like dangerous. But then they mention the Grissom is over there, and I got all excited because like I loved CSI as a teenager and Gil Grissom was like the lead guy. I know that they're talking about, I think it's Gus Grissom, the astronaut, I assume, because this is before CSI came out, a full 10 years before CSI started.
I also love that like they would name a ship after just a random CSI agent in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I assume though it's Gus Grissom though. But I'll take it. I got excited for a second. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, so then like Data wakes up and he's in this like trophy room thing, and sitting on like a really interesting couch. I really liked this couch. It was red and kind of a spiral. It was cool. Yeah, so then we meet Varia, who's the person who like finger scanned Data, and she's been working for Kivas for 14 years. So Kivas basically has kidnapped Data because he's a collector of like rare objects and whatever, and like Data's the only like sentient like android, so he's like a really important. Like, he's definitely one of a kind.
Yeah.
So he wanted him for his collection. He even has a chair picked out for Data and everything. So we kind of go through. Oh, yeah. Kivas is, like, losing his mind over how excited he is to meet Data. He's, like, snapping his fingers. He's, like, super psyched. And Kivas is like, Data, you will be catered to, fawned over, cared for as you've never have been before, and your every wish will be fulfilled. And Data's like, I wish to leave. And Kivas is like, almost every wish.
Yeah.
And then Data's just like, cool, then I'm going to escape now, and tries to open the door, but you can't open the door.
Yeah.
Because it's like DNA or whatever. And then Data tries to like get Kivas to like, I don't know, get him to open the door, but he's got like his own personal force field. So like Data gets like blown back or whatever. So then Kivas is like, here, I'll show you like some of my collection. And truly the rest of this episode just has them mentioning other shit in this collection. And it's very funny. Just the like super casualness of like some of these art pieces.
It is mildly frustrating that so much of it is from Earth. And it's just like, why is Earth all that important? You've got like 5 or 6 different things from Earth, and one of them's a fucking baseball card. And it's like, yeah, of course it's a baseball card because the guys writing TNG are huge baseball nerds, and they keep finding ways to work it in.
Yeah. So, okay. So he's got some like super like artifacts from places, but then he's got like super very chill about the painting. It's the Persistence of Memory, which is like the melting clock painting by Dali.
Yeah.
I've seen that painting in real life. It's not that big.
Nope.
It's very small.
Yeah. A lot of paintings that we think are huge are really not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, later on we see Data looking at the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa is very small.
Yes. Yeah. Isn't it like 8.5 by 11? Like it's a sheet of paper?
It's a little bigger than that.
Yeah. You can't, it's pretty small, but you can't actually go that close to it. Like when I was in Paris years ago, it's surrounded, it's like in a glass, like it's on the wall, but there's like a huge glass case around it. And then there was security. And then there's a like divider. So you're at least still like 5 feet from the glass even. It's truly a wild setup. It's a lot.
I've heard that like it's not actually all that worth it to like get in the line and go see it and stuff. Like the Louvre has like so much other interesting shit that it's like don't bother.
Yeah, because it's funny because like it's just like this section that has the Mona Lisa, and like right outside the section is like a bunch of other like Da Vinci paintings and shit. Like there's such incredible pieces, and everybody like plowed into like to see the Mona Lisa, and it's just because it's famous, right? Yeah. But there's so much other cool things to see.
Yeah, and it's only famous because it got stolen. People didn't give a shit about it before it was stolen. And I've seen pictures of like the museum itself, and it's like, man, just looking at the museum itself is fucking way more interesting.
Well, yeah, because the museum actually the Louvre used to be the like French the palace for French royalty until they made Versailles. Yeah. But yeah, the Louvre is beautiful. It's truly an incredible museum. I didn't get to spend nearly as much time in there as I would have liked because I was in Paris for a very short time. But yeah, hopefully I can go back one day.
Yeah, one day.
Yeah. Hopefully, we'll see. God, just to see art again. Just a museum.
Yeah, I think we've had this conversation before. I'm very much I'm not into like going and doing everything. Like when I go on vacation, I like to chill. But the one thing I love to do is art galleries and museums. Honestly, could do a trip of like just seeing that stuff.
Oh, it's the best. It's fantastic. Yeah, so we got the Mona Lisa, we've got the persistence of memory. There's a trading card for Roger Maris from Earth 1962, but like, who cares?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Just, I don't care. And then there's something called a lapwing, which is an extinct animal, and it's basically an ugly bird bug.
It's a puppet. Yeah. Bad puppet.
It's pretty. It's really ugly. I don't care for it.
Fun fact about the baseball card thing. Obviously, the stereotype of baseball cards being worth a lot of money is like long in the past now, but that was a real big thing in the 90s. Like it wasn't actually a huge seller at the time, but there was this impression between collectors specifically that like baseball cards were the big thing. They were the collector's item to get outside of stamps and coins.
It's like Pokemon cards now.
Yeah.
or Pokemon cards.
Yep.
Pokemon cards
now
actually like came back around and are valuable again.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's why I'm saying.
Dude, I sold my Charizard at the beginning of the pandemic for like $150. It was great.
Nice.
Wild. Oh yeah, by the way, Kivas also has Starry Night by Van Gogh in his collection.
Yes.
But yeah. So yeah, he wants Data to put on an outfit, join the collection. And then sorry, this made me laugh. I gotta give credit to the actor. I don't remember what his name was, Saul something. He's very good in this episode.
Yes, he is.
Very funny.
Okay. I have to interject with background corner because there is a very big story about this.
Okay.
Saul was actually a last-minute choice. He was a fan of Star Trek that the director had known personally before. They went to school together. And what ended up happening was Saul was in town, and he called up the director saying, "Hey, yo, I know you work on Star Trek. Would you be interested in giving me a tour of the set? I'd love to see them." And so he asks, "How much of the sets do you want to see?" Mm-hmm. The reason that he had to do this was that Kivas Fajo had already been cast, and they had already shot half of the episodes with it. It was with a British actor named David Rappaport.
Oh, that name sounds very familiar.
Yeah, he was. He's a little person. I think he's about 4 feet tall. Was about 4 feet tall. He had a suicide attempt in the middle of not on the shoot specifically, but halfway through shooting. And they just he was in the hospital. They couldn't keep on going with him.
Oh, that sucks.
That's really sad.
And unfortunately, about 2 months after the episode was filmed, with his replacement, he ended up succeeding in his suicide attempt again, in a second one. And he was not well. There is actually, as of the release of the Blu-rays about 10 years ago, footage comparing both of their performances. Because, as I said, he was several days into the shoot already, so there is comparable shots between them. Because it was the same dialogue, and Saul did not have much time to prep. He had like a day or two. So the fact that he pulled this character off so well is great. But I will show you guys, just for your own reference, the footage afterwards if you're interested in seeing it. It's mostly footage from the beginning and the very end. So like the climax of the episode with Data and the Disruptor, and the beginning when they first meet him. So you get to see this juxtaposition of what he's like at the beginning and the end of the episode. And he actually carries the character very differently than Saul ended up doing. David's interpretation of the character is, I would say, he's slower and more methodical with his speech, but also much more aggressive and threatening with it, which is what they were going for, because they deliberately casted someone who was like non-threatening, because like the man is super short, so like making him threatening was going to be a challenge, and they knew that, and they wrote that into the dialogue and got that through in his performance. But having seen both of them, I kind of prefer what we got, specifically because the way that the way that this actor carries it is, it's more charming. There's almost a bit of like arrogant regret in the way that he's doing things at the very end. He's reserved isn't the word, but he's got restraint. And I really appreciate that about him, because obviously we didn't get to see what the parts in the middle of the episode would have looked like. But there are a couple of points in the episode where he is like lashing out and then immediately tones it down.
That's actually what I wanted to mention. So Varia says to him, the Andorians wish to bid on the shipment of whatever the fuck
Tellarite.
Spices.
Yeah. He's yelling at her for
spices you offered, and then he goes, "They've had 4 days to decide. Why do they decide right? All right."
Yeah.
just like just like in like a just change, like calms down in like a second. Yeah, so I really liked that. I just thought, like, he did little things throughout the episode that really, I don't know, it was good. Oh yeah, so then like Wes and Geordi are like, they go into Data's quarters and they look at his painting that he was working on, in which honestly, first thing I thought when they revealed it, so it looks like it's the view from like the bottom of like Ariel from the Little Mermaid's like hoarding room.
Oh yeah.
Like if you're at the bottom looking up, it's like during part of your world. That's all I could think about.
Yeah, it's kind of like a whirlpool kind of deal.
Yeah. And so then they go through Data's desk, which like I know it's like good intentions, but it felt really weird. Like he just died and you're going through his shit.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't doing anything bad with it, but I don't know. So then they find a book that's from Picard. There's like poker stuff, and they're like, we should give it to Riker. And then they find Data's medals, and then they almost got me to fucking cry again. Like, so close. Then they pull out, and because then like when they started going through his desk, I was like, oh, are they going to find the Yar hologram? They found the Yar hologram.
Yeah.
And then they turned it on again, and I'm like, why are you fucking doing this to me, TNG? Yeah. Why are you doing this to me?
Hey, it's continuity.
I gotta point out, from that shot, or at least the way that it was lit there, it does not look like that prop was meant to be seen in HD.
No, that little hologram Yar. Yeah. But like Geordi is kind of frustrated because he's not like convinced that the explosion was like a malfunction. There's something like
Geordi's having like a very hard time dealing with this.
Yeah. So Data then is like honestly, this group is like very well prepared. Kivas, like, he thinks shit through because Data's like, they'll be looking for me, and they're like, okay, they won't because when they did the finger scan to knock Data out, then they scanned his like system to see what he's like made of, I guess. So they had the composites, and so they were able to like sprinkle the components in the appropriate amounts in like the shuttle when it exploded, so if they do a scan, that's what they'll find. So that was like very, very thought out. So yeah, Geordi is like speaks to Picard and Riker, and he's like, it doesn't make sense. Like, how could, like, can't find out, like, I can't figure out what the malfunction is, and there's no way that it could be pilot error because it's Data. So like Riker's like, maybe like you should rest, and Picard's like, listen, Geordi, you can like pursue this shit, but like you need to be ready when we reach the planet.
Yeah.
So then Riker says, for an android with no feelings, he sure managed to evoke them in others.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's like, even though we know Data's alive, it's still very hard to see them like deal with this grief because they think he's dead.
Yeah. And then Picard is like, we need to replace Data at Ops. And Riker's like, Worf is my first choice. Picard agrees. And then I actually wrote, I was like, wait, like Worf, I mean, because Worf took over security. And if they want him to go to Ops, like, how are they trained? Are they trained in like multiple departments, or is it just like the bridge crew, you can change people around because they're like, how does that work to go from security to like Ops?
I think if you're a bridge crew, you're expected to know how to do every position on the bridge, because if there's an emergency, you might have to fill in for someone else. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I was like, how does that work? So Data is also very, like, it was really cute. Data feeding the lapwing and like going lulu 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 lulu. So cute. So Data has this whole conversation with Kivas about like his skills and shit, because he's like, oh, have you ever killed anybody?
Yeah.
And Data's like, not yet. He's like, okay, well, like, maybe you will. Yeah, there's like a whole conversation. Can get into that later, I guess.
I guess he tries to manipulate Data in, like, he tries to make it seem like self-defense is murder.
Yeah.
Which it's, not.
Obviously not. Yeah. It's an interesting conversation. But, like, obviously Kivas is, like, he's, like, manipulative. Like, I don't think he truly believes that. I think he's just, like, trying to...
convince Data. Manipulate Data, rather.
Yeah. So then Data is like, it's too bad that you use your, like, debating or, like, talking, whatever skills on, like, greed and, like, bad shit. And Kivas is like, oh, you wouldn't judge me so hard if you knew about my hard childhood on the streets. And then Data's like, oh, your past does not excuse unethical or immoral behavior, sir. Like, yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, scream that from the rooftops. And then Kivas is like, lols, it's not true. I was like, my family is rich. My dad's a thief. Yeah. But I had like one single tear go down his face when he was saying he had like a rough childhood. Yeah. And I was like, that is incredible.
I'm actually really glad you noticed that. I don't actually think that so tear came through very well in what's it called?
SD.
In standard definition, because like I almost didn't notice it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought it was so good, just one single tear.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then also he says he wants Data to wear this, like, outfit while he's on display. Data's like, hard pass. So then Kivas throws, like, acid on Data's uniform.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, looks like either you can hang out in the nude or, you can wear this other outfit. And Data's just like, wait, well, fuck.
Okay, he doesn't say, I guess you can see, or you can go around nude. He says, I'd prefer to see you go around naked.
He doesn't say prefer. He's like, I would actually find it really amusing to see you go around naked.
I was writing it down when it happened. He uses the word prefer, and I was just like,
does he?
Oh, Kivas Fajo. Yeah, it was very funny. I know that's not what they intended with it. It's just amusing.
Yeah.
Okay, so now Geordi is, like, asleep in his uniform. Like, is Picard the only one with pajamas in this universe?
I noticed that, yeah.
I think he was more like just trying to take a nap, not necessarily like a full night's sleep. And it's like, sometimes like you don't bother changing for like a nap.
Sure. So then like Geordi like wakes up, he realizes he missed something and like goes to investigate. Meanwhile, we cut to Troy and she's worried about Worf because they're in like the lift and she's like, I'm worried about you because this is now the second person whose job you have taken over due to their death. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's so fucking sad. Because I forgot that like Yar was security for a second and just like, oh yeah, that's like very unfortunate. Yeah. Like poor Worf. And so Worf goes, I honor Data's memory as I did Lieutenant Yar's by attempting to perform their duties as well as they did. And then Troy goes, in true Klingon fashion. And then Worf goes, I appreciate your concern. It's very cute. Yeah. And then, so then like Geordi and Wes listen to Data's like correspondence from the other two trips. And there's like something irregular in the last one where like he doesn't give some information. I don't know. I didn't. Yeah, I didn't rewind it. Like I forget what the part is. Was it like, oh, prepare the shuttle or something?
Or it was like, I've departed the shuttle bay. Because Data's very exacting with, like he follows protocol very closely. So to them, the fact that he didn't follow protocol like for the very last trip is suspicious. Yeah.
Meanwhile, back on the other ship, Kivas brings this guy named Palar Toff, who is wearing this like green robe thing and has like a gold ribbon coming out of his nose and wrapping around his head. Yeah. I didn't like it. I did not like it. And he introduces Data, but Beta is giving us nothing. Like legit nothing. He's not moving. He's just still. And this gets like Kivas like pissed off. He tries to like go over and like push Data. And Data is like stiff as a board, falls down and like just completely like arms by his side, hits like the couch and hits the floor.
Was that,
and then,
that looked like it was actually Brent Spiner, but I wasn't entirely sure.
I
That did
don't
the
know.
fall.
I'm not sure
was a
either.
pretty
It's
great
very
fall.
difficult to tell.
Yeah. It
And
might
then
have been an
Paler-
actual mannequin.
And then Paler Toft just goes, he falls well. It's like, fair. Yeah, so then like
but
they get...
wait. So, fun fact about him: the actor who plays that character, I cannot pronounce his name. It's Nehemiah, I think. Nehemiah
Okay.
Persoff. He was born in 1919 and is still alive.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Yeah,
party. Good for
he is
him.
currently the oldest living actor, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah,
Like in general?
yeah,
Neat.
Good for him.
yeah.
Party. So then Enterprise arrives at the planet, and Picard goes, Mr. Data, scan. And then we cut to Worf, and it's awkward.
Yeah.
Worf's just like, And then we cut to Riker and Wes, and they're like,
Yeah.
And then Picard does apologize to Worf, but they're like, okay, there's something going on with like the planet. It's unusual. There's like geological things. So Riker, Worf, and Dr. C go down.
Yeah. The stuff they're doing is working too well.
Yeah. So it turns out on the planet, the like contamination was on purpose, and it was they used
Something. They use stuff.
Yeah.
used
Basically,
shit-
it wasn't naturally occurring, they figured out.
Yeah. But the stuff that was used to make it, like, it was used on purpose to make it look like a natural disaster. And the only way to fix it was to use this, like, pure shit that Kivas had. And he, of course, is the only person who sells it in, like, this area. So it's all
What
a
a
ruse so he could
coincidence.
get data. Meanwhile, on the other ship, Kivas shows Data that he's got, like, this weapon it's a prototype for a Varan T disruptor, and there's like 5 made. He's got 4. It's banned in the Federation because it like tears a body apart inside out. Slowly, very painful death. Although I beg to disagree, because we see it and it is fairly quick, I would say.
That's actually slow for a Star Trek weapon.
Yeah.
Oh,
he
okay.
he says like by phaser standards it's very slow.
Oh, okay. Well, so he also is like, okay, Data, like get on the chair, or like I'm gonna fully kill Varia, even though she's been in my service for like 14 years.
Yeah.
And then Data's just like, hey, I'm in the chair. Can you like leave her alone?
Yeah.
Like, great. Oh yeah. So then they're like, Picard's like access Kivas's biographical file, and they learn that he's like a collector, and they're like, oh boy, we need to find his ship. So they like set out to be like, hey, Federation, everybody, if you see this ship, like, give us a shout.
Yeah, but like on the
Meanwhile-
down low.
Yes. And so then Varia goes to Data and is like, listen, I will help you escape if you take me with you. And he's like, let's do it. Let's party. So she starts to do this like escape sequence in like the shuttle bay, and Data goes to like start the shuttle. And then, but when she said though, like when she starts the escape sequence, like the alarm's going to go off. Mm-hmm. And so of course the alarm does come off. 2 guys come in. They like fight her and Data and whatever, and they take them down, and they're like, okay, let's do it. Let's like try to get out of there. Oh yeah. They also, Varia took the disruptor with her to like the shuttle bay,
Yeah.
just in case. So then, Kivas comes in, and him and Varia have like quite an intense moment. They're just like staring at each other, and he's got his like other copy of the disruptor, and the one she brought is on the floor, and she does an incredibly short and anticlimactic dive for the gun.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she does not reach it. She's like not even an arm's length.
Yeah. It's honestly very realistic. If I tried to like dive for a gun, that's what happened to me.
it was like really sad just watching her like look, she's like, oh, I cannot reach this, and they just sort of stare at each other, and it looks like he's like hesitating for a moment, and he's like deciding, okay, maybe not, so he lowers it, and then he does like, so like then she gets up and just kind of like exhales, and then he like turns and like not really turns, but like he like lowers the gun for a sec, and he does this like tiny gesture that just is like, whatever, and then just turns and shoots her.
Yeah.
And it's like a fireball in her chest, and it's like,
she's screaming in agony
sad.
for like a good like 3 or 4 seconds.
It's
like,
very sad,
which is a long time. Yeah,
I felt bad for her, like,
yeah,
that fucking sucks. So like Data comes out and he like grabs the other the disruptor, and they like, it's sort of not a standoff, but Kivas is like, oh, you like don't feel, you don't feel anything, so you're not gonna like look for revenge for Varia, and you're just gonna like do nothing. But Data's like really intensely standing there with the gun, and like I was like, is Data really gonna shoot? Because like this is pretty fucking intense, and at this point, like, it's not self-defense, but like, I don't know, I didn't put past Data to like, I wasn't sure. I didn't know which way this would honestly go for a minute. Just, I don't know. And then, but good timing. They transport Data back onto the ship, and O'Brien's like, oh, Data's got a weapon and it looks like it's been discharged. And everybody's like, and Riker's like, oh, okay. So then Data gets off and he's like, oh, you have to go arrest Kivas for like murder, kidnapping, theft, whatever. And O'Brien like, what is it, like deactivates the disruptor. So then they get Kivas, and he's now in like the cell in the Enterprise, and he says to so Data's telling him like, all your shit has now been like returned to like the owners, your collection's gone, and like then Kivas is like, you must feel like you must find a lot of pleasure in this, and Data is like, no, sir, it does not. I do not feel pleasure. I'm only an android. In which I assume they set it up like that to be like a throwback to like what Kiva said a little bit earlier of like, Data doesn't feel emotion, which is why like he's not going to like shoot him because he doesn't have the drive to do revenge.
It was deliberately intended to be that, yeah.
Yeah.
But the way that like the way that Brent Spiner like delivered it, I was like, I can't tell if this is supposed to be a like on purpose reference or this is just Data stating facts.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know.
I think it was supposed to be an on purpose reference because I think the intention is that he's throwing it in his face, that's what he said about Data.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just like the way that, like, I think Brent Spiner is great, but like the way he delivered it did not make me think, like, I was not sure if it was like he's just saying that or if it's like a direct reference, because it could go either way with Data.
Yeah.
So there was just, but that's not like, I don't think it's anybody's fault because that's just how Data would speak.
Yeah.
And because like tone is what would have made that more clear to me, but that's not going to change with Data. So that's why I was like, I do not know if this is an on purpose reference or this is just Data saying, nope, this is a fact. I am an android. Like I don't, like I assumed it was, but it's just hard to tell without tone. But this was an interesting episode.
So in my opinion, I don't think that the moral question at the end of the episode is that difficult.
No, it's not.
Because they try to set up of like, oh, is Data gonna murder him? Is he gonna take revenge? And it's like, when I watch the scene again, it's very clear that like Data obviously feels some type of way, but the stuff he says and like the parts where he decides that he's gonna shoot, because it turns out he does shoot. That's what it means when O'Brien says like he fired. They just happened to transport him like before anything happened. It's more about like him not wanting this situation to continue, that he doesn't want him to continue hurting other people.
Yeah, it is.
And the thing is like legally and in my opinion morally, like self-defense includes defense of others.
Yes,
like
it does.
Like an immediate threat to you or others, you know? So to me, it's not that difficult. It's just like, yeah, like this is a type of self-defense. Like you're presented with like very little option here. It's like Data tried at first to get him to surrender, and it's not going to happen. And like, maybe there were other ways, like maybe Data could have tried restraining him or whatever. But yeah, to me, I feel like Data would have been cleared of wrongdoing on that. Like, I don't think he would have been wrong to kill that guy.
So the director wanted it to be a little bit ambiguous, but both Brent Spiner and the writer have come out and said, like, no, the intention is Data fired.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It like, to me, I don't see a different way of reading it.
Neither do I.
I mean, I'll say I was a little confused because, like, they said that it was discharged, and I was like, oh, okay, so he, like, shot him. But then what got me confused is then when we see Kivas in the cage, I was like, oh, so then was there, like, a technical issue? Like, he didn't shoot him, so, like, that was confusing there. But I guess, like, if it's just, like, the timing.
Yeah, I think the implication is that, they transported him right as he was firing, so it didn't actually make it to, what's-his-face.
Yeah.
Okay, because, like, the way that they describe, like, O'Brien's like, oh, the weapon's been discharged, it made it, to me, it was like, oh, so he shot before they moved, like, he was transported. So I wasn't sure, and I was waiting for, like...
That's fair.
To see Kivas, and he was alive. I was like, oh, so, like, what the fuck was happening there? What does that mean? But now, I get, like, it's, like, he shot while it was...
Yeah, it happened, like, at the same time.
Okay.
There was...
that makes more sense.
There was another scene that they dropped from shooting this that I kind of wish that they had kept in about... Kivas sends Varia to Data in order to test his sexual abilities.
Oh,
and
gross.
yeah, it is. It does sound
why do
pretty
they need
gross.
But why do we need to test it? We know he's fully functional.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, Kivas doesn't know that.
When
that's true.
But yeah, she's fine with that. However, then
Only
Data.
because she's been groomed.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
At that point, Data learns about Fajo's intent because, like, she's coming on to him, and he realizes, oh, he made you do this.
Yeah.
And he ends up rejecting her for obvious reasons, leaving her feeling like utterly humiliated. And apparently that scene was supposed to fuel her desire to betray him afterwards. But being perfectly honest, I think pointing a gun to her head probably did that just as well. So I'm kind of glad that they dropped it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like...
I do not want to see this.
Yeah, also being like, oh, I was sexually rejected, therefore now I want to escape, that's real weird.
Yeah. Well, okay, it would have been in addition to what else they had already done.
True. I mean, yeah. But I agree with you, like, that's enough of a reason to leave that he fucking tried to kill you.
What it comes down to with this episode is that Fajo's character is actually very well laid out in that he objectifies everything and everyone. His friendship with that other rich guy is not a friendship. It is just about bragging rights. I have more things than you. That's it. He doesn't care about the guy otherwise. Because when the other guy tells him, like, oh, I'm having a wonderful time, he doesn't give a shit. He's busy doing stuff.
Yeah, because he's upset that he lost face, basically. But that guy, like, doesn't care. He's not like,
precisely.
Oh, how embarrassing for you,
Mm-hmm. And how he treats Varia is no different. She is an object in his possession with no uniqueness to it. Therefore, that object is sacrificing it means nothing.
Yeah.
And, like, that's a pretty powerful way, I think, to characterize him. I think that oddly enough, it's not even entirely his treatment of her. It's also the way that she behaves that exemplifies this part of his character. And that's not something that they do very often with one-shot characters, where they can actually add to their characterization through the actions of other characters.
Because she's very clearly, you know, been through some stuff
Yes.
with him. And he even says it's like, oh, she was barely an adult when I found her.
Yep.
So it's like,
Yep.
yeah, he groomed her, basically.
Oh, precisely.
And yeah, that part where he's going to kill her, like, just to, like...
So Data will sit in a chair.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, wow, like, it makes sense to me that that's when it would click in. It's like, oh, wow, I really don't actually mean anything to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like as helpful as you are until you're disposable.
Yeah.
Which is wild. And also, like, man, to just be able to drop someone like that.
Yeah.
And then I found the most interesting is like when like their showdown sort of at the end when he's like aiming at her and he like basically lets her get up. And I'm not sure if like this was like, you know, him actually like making a decision to like considering letting her go or like a manipulation that like he's pretending to consider.
Yeah.
Because like I think it seemed like he was seriously considering letting her go, and then
Yes.
just like that tiny gesture of like whatever, and just like shoots her.
Yeah.
Just of like it took him like a second to think, does it matter? No.
Yeah.
And
And he
then
seems like-
shoots her.
Yeah, because the dude's like amoral, right? Like
Yeah. Like it took just to make a decision.
he doesn't give a shit. But here's the thing is that like killing someone is still an entirely different thing from what he's been doing.
Yes.
So he looks like, to me, I always interpret it as like, he looks genuinely like kind of, I don't want to say traumatized, but yeah, traumatized by what he's just done. That he's like,
He's definitely surprised by it,
yeah, he's surprised that he did it.
but also surprised by the result, like how it feels.
Yeah.
Which probably explains why he tossed the gun away after it happened.
Yeah. Because he mentions that he's been wanting to try it, and obviously he's been fantasizing about it, but like to actually kill someone and actually see the results of this thing is like a whole different thing. And I feel like he regrets it, and now he's just like panicked trying to get out of trouble.
I like that interpretation actually, because like I said, between the two actors, because I saw the comparison between the way that they both played it, the other one doesn't have that sense of like resignation about what he's doing, where it seems like within his head he's trying to kind of excuse it for himself in that last scene there. Well, not that last scene, but that climax scene.
Yeah.
And the other actor didn't have any of that, and the climax scene of the showdown between Data and him exists, like that footage exists, but the other one where he kills Varia was not shot, and I would have been really interested to see the comparison between the two of those there, because it gives you a different interpretation of what they were going for the episode. Just based on one actor's performance.
Yeah, because I feel like that, to me, I saw a lot of, like, complexity in it.
Yep.
Because, like, after he shoots her, he says to Data, like, it's your fault, you know? Which is both an attempt to manipulate Data, and I feel an attempt to, like, justify it to himself.
Yes.
Yeah, because he's like, it's your fault that I killed her because you guys knew the consequences.
Yeah.
Which is truly a wild way to put it.
It is pretty flimsy reasoning.
I mean, it is reasoning that a lot of people use.
That's true,
especially when they kill women. Mm-hmm. Well, on that bummer note. Sorry to bring it there, but happens.
I mean, there's always positive things to talk about, like dumb alien puppets.
Yeah. Low.
Also, Varia's honestly not great makeup. I
No.
did not like that alien design at all. It looks weird.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
because, like, they essentially, like, flattened out her face, so
Yeah.
she gets into that, like, uncanny valley.
Oh, yeah, good point.
I think that's what it is. So, that we should move on to standout moments and lines and things of that nature.
I like how you didn't say favorites, considering the bummer that we all just left on.
Yeah, I figured that, like, at the last second, I thought that was a more appropriate description. Although there is some funny stuff in this episode.
There is, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Kivas's, like, first interaction with Data where he's, like, snapping and just, like, so excited to see Data. That was really funny. Oh, okay, so then Data goes, This is like after he's shown him his collection, and Data goes, "I must emphasize, Mr. Feijo, that I consider this captivity a hostile act on your part." And Kiva goes, "Oh, well, he'll get used to it." I loved Riker, like the line I said earlier, for an android who has no feelings, he sure managed to evoke them in others. So then there was this like kind of, it's not super long, but this whole exchange with Data and Kivas. So Data's feeding the lapling, and then Kivas comes in and he's like, oh, because he's talking about like, I don't remember what they're talking about. But Kivas is like, what a marvelous contradiction, a military pacifist. Tell me, whose dreadful idea was it to enlist you in Starfleet to begin with? And Data goes, my skills seemed appropriate to, and Kivas goes, Data, big mistake, grievous error. You belong in Starfleet about as much as I belong in a verbal contract. And then Kivas goes, tell me, Data, have you killed yet? And Data goes, no, but I am programmed with the ability to use deadly force in the cause of defense. And Kivas goes, shame on you. How neatly you rationalize your capabilities. How can you just casually accept your role in murder? Data goes, I would not participate in a murder. Perhaps you misunderstand. And I don't know, I just thought that was like a really interesting
and now that you bring it up, that's exactly what happens to Fajo. He just casually justifies his participation in murder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I did like when Data falls over and Palartov goes, he falls well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's it. I did just also really enjoy Saul something, whatever his last name is. In this, I just thought he was really good at, like, he was obviously, like, a moral trash bag of a person, but I did find him, like, he wasn't endearing, but I just think, like, an interesting character.
Mm-hmm. He is charming in his own way.
Like, the way that he would go from, like, quiet to loud or back and forth, but, like, and everything was just, like, a little bit more, like, he started off with Data being like, hey, oh, this is going to be, like, the best. You're going to be, like, doted upon, fawned over. Everything's going to be incredible. You can get whatever you want. And then when Data is being like, oh, well, I don't want to do that, then it's like, well, if you're not going to follow my shit, then, like, consequences and... It's just like he turns so quickly, but then he'll go back to like, oh, hey, how about this? And then bam, like, and it's such extremes. So I just found that he played him really interestingly. Is that a word? I don't know. Yeah. He just played him really well.
And I think that's also like, that's pretty characteristic of an abuser too, is having these extremes of being like overly affectionate and then like very aggressive. You know, I don't think it typically happens like on a dime like that. There are people like that though. But I thought that was like, in this episode, you need to see it like more, quickly that, he has these two sides.
Yes.
And it's used to manipulate you, to like keep you, in his grasp.
And he's very clear he's even proud of that.
Yeah, and I think the actor struck a good balance of being this, like, schemy, smarmy dude, but also charming. Because it's very easy to just fall into being annoying. But for me at least, he never crossed that line into annoying.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree as well.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. I meant to mention it, like, earlier in the episode, but... The actor that plays him is, if you've ever watched Frasier, he plays Donnie from Frasier, which was Niles' divorce lawyer who eventually starts dating Daphne.
Who's Niles' big crush.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I actually found that the character there and the character in this episode aren't ultra different.
No, not really. Donnie's a nice person, though.
Yeah, unless he's not feeling good about something. Because I don't know if you remember, but after the...
he gets pretty vindictive, but not like... Yeah. He's not amoral.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
He's more of, like, a human asshole.
Yeah, but he has that... He has the same, the same, like, bit of charm to him, where he's, like... Yeah. He's almost goofy charming, I would say. in that like he's like whimsical in the way that he that he behaves, and I kind of enjoy that.
Yeah, he kind of has similar mannerisms and speech patterns and things like that.
Yeah.
But I like it. Like he's good at it, and it's it makes for a successful thing. And I thought that he brought a lot of complexity to that character that could easily be one note.
Yeah, very much so.
Another thing that I really liked was when, what was her name again?
Varia,
yeah. When she's telling Data about like why people are loyal to him, and she says like, oh, his rewards for loyalty are lavish, and his punishments for disloyalty are equally as lavish.
Yeah.
I just liked the way that was phrased. I just like that. To describe a punishment as lavish, I just find so interesting, and it just evokes like such imagery, such vivid imagery, for me. So I really like that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, one last thing that was like sort of my favorite bits of the episode was everyone on the ship like kind of going through the grieving process, even though it was sad. And it was
also a little bit rushed, unfortunately.
Yeah. One thing I forgot to bring up is I liked that Troy was, talking to Worf and being like, "Oh, how do you feel?" and stuff. But the one thing is like, did you really have to do this like right before he was going to go on his shift? Like,
yeah, of course.
You have to do this like right before he's going to fucking work? Like, come on. Save that for off hours.
Well, she's on her hours.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, the scene that you mentioned a moment ago about Data and Varia together, I actually quite enjoy that scene for not for that reason specifically, but the exchange that they have in which she's like, "Are you programmed to look for weaknesses and vulnerabilities in your enemies?" And he says, "Yes. Are you my enemy?" Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, "Oh, Data, that is smooth."
Yeah.
Smooth. And he has a couple of like little comebacks like that, and like it's amusing because like these are things that a good debater would say, and I really enjoyed those moments from him. He has a similar debate back and forth with Kivas Fajo as well. I think it was a little later in the episode, like a scene or two after that, but yeah, I really did enjoy those moments from Data in this episode where he got to verbally spar with people.
Mm-hmm. And I love that they made the decision that Data fired. Data did it.
Me too.
I like that they went there.
He did it. He killed a man, except got away with it.
Well, he tried to.
Yes.
Yeah. The thing is, like, hey, man, if Batman just fucking killed the Joker, there'd be a lot less issues in Gotham.
Oh, yes.
Is this the Star Trek version of Han shot first?
Yeah.
Terrible.
Oh, the most angering thing is seeing George Lucas wearing a Han shot first shirt.
Ew.
Fuck you, dude. So, that brings us to predictions for the next episode.
So, the next episode, Dory, I don't know if you'll pronounce it correctly just from seeing it. It's called Sarek. That is how it's pronounced.
Okay.
Okay. And in this episode, the crew meets a living legend, Spock's father, Sarek. Sarek is a Vulcan, like Spock was, except Sarek is a full Vulcan. And take it away. What are they going to do with a legend of Federation history?
This is also a well-known fact that he's Spock's father.
Yes. Yeah, everyone is aware of it. And Spock, Sarek's history in the Federation is as a revered diplomat.
Not unlike Kyle. No, I'm kidding. Okay.
For the record, the original series in continuity of Star Trek took place about 80 to 100 years. No, less than that. Like 70 years or so before TNG, I think. Mm-hmm. So
okay,
Sarek,
so he's real old.
Yeah, Vulcans live a long time, but he is real old, even for a Vulcan.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so maybe there's something. Okay, he's a diplomat, so like, what did diplomats do again in Star Trek?
They negotiate agreements between different different powers and species and planets.
Okay, right. Okay, so maybe there's a place that like I can't remember already his name. Spock's dad,
Sarek.
like negotiated some kind of agreement between these two factions, and maybe something like the Enterprise crew were there, like they didn't cause it, but they were there when maybe it fell apart. Something happened to make it fall apart, and they're like, oh crap, how do we like fix this? And they're like, maybe we should see if like the person who originally did this can like come set it up, because maybe the factions won't speak to anybody. They're not interested in negotiating with anybody other than Spock's dad.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to call him over there to like help fix this. But he's like, I fucking did this already. Like maybe he's not like psyched to see like the Enterprise crew, because he's like, maybe he thinks they caused it, but yeah, he has to be brought to fix something that like he already fixed. Or maybe like the Enterprise, they inadvertently caused like some like the factions to get into a fight again. Yeah,
okay.
That's what I'm going with. The Enterprise fucked shit up.
So the Enterprise deeply fucks up, and they have to come bring Sarek to fix their shit.
Yeah, because he's the one who originally fixed the shit, and now he's got to fix the shit again.
Alrighty. So, if you'd like to see if Dory's correct, watch along with us and join us for the next episode of Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.